Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November meeting of the Accessibility Advisory Commission. We'll take attendance. So Christy Proctor,
Here.
Paul Latorno,
Here.
Roger Trahan,
Here.
Aaron Phil, our newest member. You can just
Here.
say here. And Alexis Henry here. I'm going to pull up the agenda. Hopefully everyone will be able to see it. Tracy is, we know, going to be late, and Catherine had a conflict for tonight. So, just announcements. Welcome, Aaron. Aaron is the newest member of the commission, and you're on the agenda a little bit later, Aaron.
Sure.
Tell us more about yourself, but we're really happy to have you join us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So just other announcements. The community preservation funds were approved for the wheelchair lift at the the Unitarian Church on the Common. They were approved $85,000. So that was approved at town meeting, and that's nice. And then I don't know if anybody did attend. There was a veterans dedication ceremony on November 2nd at both the Old Cemetery and the Vietnam Veterans plaque. So I don't know if anybody on the committee attended that. I did not, but those were all the announcements that I had. I don't know if there's
I did not.
Okay. In terms of external correspondence, we got a lovely thank you email from Donna Cameroon from the Unitarian Universalist Society of Grafton and Upton, which is what I think all those initials stand for our letter of support. And we just recently got an email from Adam Lapointe, who is the Recreation Department Director, about an open position for a therapeutic rec position in the Recreation Department, which I think we are all very happy to see. I'm assuming we did everybody get that, or am I the only one who got it? Did I forward it on to everybody?
I saw it online. I saw it online, and then I was going to forward it, but then someone, I think Andy Jefferson, beat me to the punch. I saw it on various posts, and it was
Okay,
well received. It
I'll
was well
forward that.
received. Yeah.
I'll forward that to everyone. I'm assuming they're still in the process of searching for that position. So, but I think that's really great that the rec department got approval for that position. So
It's exciting. It's exciting. It was
Yeah.
very well received by the community, at least on social media circles. So
yeah, is that something that we can share on All Things Grafton?
it's already on there.
Is it? Oh, okay.
I'm pretty
I didn't
sure it
see
was
it.
on all things. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
I
And
think
is
it
this
was on,
the first time that they've had a therapeutic rec position within the rec department?
as far as I know, I would say I'm reasonably certain this is the first. That it was always sort of put on the back burner, not intentionally, but I think it was just a lot of people in the sort of rec community need to be educated on these type of matters, and
Yeah,
Adam's on board, and he's really done a great job. And
yeah,
and also bring in, I know Shrewsbury, he brings up Shrewsbury as an example of
yeah.
sort of some of his mentors. And so Adam's not short on seeking out these opportunities. So
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, this is great. Let's take a look at the meeting minutes from October 8th, which are in this packet. Um, I see you guys had a quick meeting while I was out.
We got a ton of stuff. We got all the important stuff covered in 29 minutes.
That's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, here it is. Are there any comments or edits to the draft minutes
Well,
for, and
Madam,
Christy, do you need me to,
how about a motion?
okay, yes.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the draft minutes of the meeting of October 8th, 2024.
Thank you,
I
Roger.
second.
Second,
Oh.
okay.
Thank you, Paul.
You're
Any
welcome.
comments?
I have one and
Okay.
only one, believe it or not. Under number one announcements, Tracy Sharkey has been named Inspector of Buildings and ADA Coordinator. In other
Oh,
words, adding and ADA Coordinator, just,
great. Christy, you don't need me to,
Nope, I already have it.
you've got the Word version, right? You,
Yep, thank you.
okay. All right, anything else that, any other changes or
no.
comments? Otherwise, let's, vote to approve the minutes. Roger Trahan,
Aye.
Paula Turno.
Aye.
Aaron, I think you have to abstain. Is that correct, Roger? Since,
No, actually, believe it
Can
or
he-
not, the new progressive way of doing things is that, I mean, he can choose to abstain if he doesn't feel comfortable voting, but he's not required to abstain for any meeting for which he was either not present or wasn't even a member yet. So,
no. Okay, Roger.
I'll-
All right, Aaron, you can vote.
I'll abstain just because I wasn't present.
Okay,
all right.
Christy
Aye.
and Alexis Henry, aye. Okay, so the minutes are accepted. Thank you all. All right, I'm gonna go back up to the agenda.
So that's 401.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry. I have to go through those remote guidance. Okay, old business. Grafton celebrates the holidays. I don't know whether there's really any action for us at this point. I could follow up with Adam to just get a sense of whether he's had any. Aaron, are you familiar with Grafton celebrates the holidays?
Yep.
Okay, it's December 8th. And we had been in communication with Adam Lapointe, who's the rec department director, who coordinates this activity to, we like to ensure that participating businesses and events are as accessible as possible. And we had communication with Adam about that, and I think that he's made a concerted effort to have participating businesses or, organizations that are sponsoring events as part of Grafton Celebrate the Holidays, communicate the extent to which they are accessible. But we haven't had any follow-up with, I'm assuming nobody on the commission has had any follow-up with
No.
him. I'm happy to reach out to him just to get a sense. I mean, our next meeting is after Grafton celebrates the holiday, so I'm not sure that there's much that we can do, but I'll email him in the morning and CC everybody just so we can get just a little update, so for our own information. Unless someone has any other suggestions about.
I guess one question, and there's different ways to do this. I know that sometimes people have been of the opinion that we shouldn't take official acts on social media, but it would be nice to, even if, aside from the issue that we've discussed in the past about whether a venue is truly accessible and to what extent. Is it just the entrance? Is it the bathrooms? Is it all the different things that go into things? But I'm wondering if, for example, I know that in prior years, there was at least one venue, maybe in the library, I'm not even sure, that had a quiet space.
Yeah,
If someone needed to go somewhere and just kind of, they needed some time away. And so I didn't know if that was, if any of the Frosty Stops advertised themselves as what they have is basically quiet space. That's what they're advertising. So,
yeah.
and
Well,
if not, moving forward, it wouldn't be a bad thing because it really wouldn't take any setup. You know what I mean? Necessarily. So
How
Yeah,
could that be, how could that be supported by us? I mean, would we help them find a place that would be a quiet space?
I can think of some of the library conference rooms, on
Uh-huh.
the second floor, for example, or even one of the banks, one of the offices in one of the banks that has things, or all the different places.
True.
Yeah,
I'm-
I think it would be for each of the participating businesses or the stops, if there is.
Or maybe
if
that,
the
or maybe that,
environment,
or maybe that's their venue. In other words, that's what they're advertising, is that we don't have anything going on. It's not busy, and what we are advertising is quiet space. Sort of something that's publicly, come on in,
yeah,
and we have some quiet space available. That's all. I remember some of the venues. I don't know if it was a venue also had quiet space or that was their venue.
oh, I
Yeah,
see what you're saying.
Alexis, if you could ask Adam, because
Yeah.
there's still time, there's still 2+ weeks, actually 2.5 weeks.
Mm.
Ask him if he could ask several of the venues that are like what Roger said, the banks, the
Yeah.
library, could they offer with their activity a quiet sensory calming space? We call them calming spaces. We don't
Yeah.
call them quiet spaces, but you know,
Okay.
people-
Some
yeah,
kind of
but if we
sensory
could,
friendly room.
yeah, if we
Yeah.
could find a place that would maybe have one or two. I'm sure everything's already printed though. That's the thing in terms of the
Is there print or is it all computer now? Is there a hard
Is it
copy?
all on?
yeah. You're right.
Is there
Maybe there is room though, since it's going to be maybe just scan this or get the QR code and everything's online. Then there
Yeah.
would be time to be able to manipulate some of that information to include this. But they could also, advertise it on the way in the event doorways or, hang signs in their spaces.
Well, why
Right.
don't I, rather than just email him, like have a conversation with him? Because some of these things may be things that have been set up. Maybe there are some events where, it's holiday decorating for kids, but there's a separate space in the church basement where they could, I don't know to the extent, I mean, I have no idea whether
I
any of this.
will bring it up, Madam Chair. I'll bring it up at my Board of Library Trustees meeting tomorrow night.
Okay,
Because there's all those conference rooms upstairs, and maybe if they're
Yeah.
not booked, maybe have one or two available as calming spaces.
yeah. So, and then how do we get that information out to the public? But why don't it, Roger, if you do that, I'll give Adam a call tomorrow, just say, hey, give us, we're just curious, what do you have for the participating businesses or the scheduled events related to accessibility? And how are you making that, known? And this is just one, this is one issue that the commission was interested in, but,
Will there be a
I know that,
listing? Will
huh?
there be a listing of businesses and establishments that will be offering space, even just to sit down and park? But
Yeah, so I think that's a good question. That's, I think, one of, there always is I mean, I think in the past, there's always been a printed brochure. So I don't know at this point if there's even something on the town website. I didn't look. I could look right now. People want to wait a second. Let me just, I don't want to.
And while you look
That's-
that up, Roger, is it a Board of Trustees meeting or is it which library?
It's a
trustee?
board of library trustees is
Yeah,
tomorrow
that's what I
night.
thought. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Grafton celebrates the holidays. Click here for the flyer.
I think there was a great tea time, Paul, at the Grafton Historical Society. They did a stand-up job last year.
Oh, yeah. I think that's important.
There was a
If
lot
you-
of
if
seat,
you're
there was a lot of
out-
seating.
Yeah, if you're out there walking around and taking advantage of the venues, at some point, you're probably going to, for an old guy like me, I'd want to sit down for a little while, maybe have a cup of coffee or,
So, all right, you know what? Let me share with you because here's the brochure. And looks like, hold on a second, let me stop sharing that and now let me share. Okay, can you see it? So here it is.
yes, uh-huh.
All right, so here are
Craft.
all the stops. So we've got accessible. Let's see, what are all, so we've got wheelchair accessibility. Is that, does this symbol, this sound symbol mean anything? So parking, restrooms, so, you know, accessible, physically accessible, must be parking, restrooms. What does this mean?
Nearly every place is wheelchair accessible.
Yeah. Um,
Just wait.
in theory, at least. Let's see. What
Where's
is
the
this?
legend?
Christy, what does
Bathrooms?
this symbol mean?
I don't know. You have to go down.
Wi-Fi?
Go down and-
Wi-Fi? Oh, sensory friendly.
Oh,
There you
sensory
go.
friendly.
Oh,
Sensory
good.
That's
friendly.
sensory
Yes.
friendly? Oh, okay.
ADA accessible, sensory friendly, restrooms, parking. This is the first time I've seen this on one
I
of
think
these
it looks
brochures.
great.
It's very
Yeah.
good.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So what does the term sensory friendly mean in this context, though?
It
What is
means
what?
that it's going to be quiet and a quiet place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Grafton Public Library. Okay, there you, all right, then I don't need to
Alright.
mention it tomorrow.
Okay, so we got the library, we've got the high school. Sensory friendly space will be available in the multipurpose room. That's the high school. I think this is great. I mean, this is, you know,
Very good.
it's quite evolved from what we've had in the past. So
I really like it. And there's a bit of stuff for everyone.
yeah.
I wonder how we can get it, how I could get a hard copy of this.
You could
Well, you can print it.
I don't have a
Yeah.
printer.
I'll get you a copy, Paul.
I appreciate
There's-
that, my
I would
friend.
assume, I bet they're around town some places.
Well, because I hear like for some of the old people around in my complex, a lot of them don't have anything to do often. And if I had this, I could point out some things they could get involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, you have a great point. One of the things I think we have been really enamored by the efficiency of the QR code and being able to download things, and that allows some flexibility for changes, additions, and deletions. But you're right. I'm a paper guy, and
Yeah, me
I used
too.
to like, especially when Blake was little, we would circle things, and that would and we'd number them. All right, this is our
Yes, this is,
itinerary.
I want to do this, or I do that now. I circle
Yeah.
things, and when I get the Stop and Shop flyer, I circle things if I'm interested in buying.
Right.
Just, it's focal point.
Yeah, I
Right.
wonder if I know that I've seen them at places like the Credit Union, Grafton Country Store on are there, I don't know if there are places around town already, particularly those who are participating,
Yeah.
where there is a printed flyer. Um,
See,
You know what
I
I'm
would
going to
think that
do?
they put them in Stop and Shop and some of the places where people do shop, or even the banks.
yeah,
You know, our meeting tonight is not going to go long. And I'm sure there's other meetings in town hall. I am curious. It would be just like me, and I am going to, after this meeting, go down to the municipal center. I wouldn't be surprised if in some of the areas, including rec, that this is in print.
mm-hmm.
And if so, um, I'll grab a few. If not, I'll print a few.
Okay, that
Well,
would be
and I'm
nice.
wondering if, Aaron, not, with Adam, sorry. Adam is putting like that brochure, if you could put a link to it or put it on All Things Grafton.
Right, right.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow anyway and say, we really like this, it looks great. And, how are you getting the word out?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, all right, let me go back to the agenda. Okay, so, we need some suggestions for another banner photo for the webpage. October was National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and I think it looked really nice. But now it's November, so October's over. And I am open to suggestions for new ideas. I was just looking at sort of clip art around, accessible holiday activity. I am just, maybe we can, Amber is very open, it seems, to posting something if we send it to her. So, or are there other really specific months that we want to, like May is Mental Health Awareness Month. There's probably other awareness months that I'm not thinking of at the moment. When is February Autism Awareness Month? Isn't Light Up Blue, doesn't that happen am I thinking February? I could be wrong. Or is it April?
April.
April. So those are two that I would think would be ones we would do, April and May, but anybody?
I'm online right now
Mm.
about different
I mean, I
months.
don't
How
think it always
frequently do
has
we,
to be,
a month?
disability awareness,
Right, right,
but more just something about inclusion.
right.
Um, so,
Well, this month and next month are both holiday months, so there must be things connected to that. But I'm not aware of any in particular.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. I think that um I'm gonna tap Aaron on this one. And now, as far as when oftentimes we're thinking of physical structures and obstacles and things like that, but I think the holidays tend to be a difficult time in winter too, whether it's seasonal
Mhm.
affective disorder,
Oh, yes.
people being more, especially in the Northeast, being more indoors and maybe more isolated, and maybe behavioral health resources, things like that. Um, in advertising generally over the course of these holiday/winter months, um, calling maybe greater attention to those type of resources that may already, and I think are already on our webpage anyway, but maybe
Mhm,
making them more prominent so that it
mhm.
becomes like maybe a duplication um, on the head of our webpage regarding some
That's a
resources.
good, yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
Aaron, got any ideas?
No, not right now. I'd have to
All
think.
right.
No, not off the top of my head.
All
But
right.
that's, yeah, I mean, that's something, holidays are great, but
Yeah, getting
Well-
information like access to mental health support through state programs is something that, is always good and we can look at that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is already on our page, but I think, highlighting it like with that, I don't know if you've seen the page, Aaron, the banner kind of idea, but, or just, check on your friends during the holidays, something sort of promoting positive.
Or also maybe promoting, yeah, reaching out as individuals, just being more mindful, sort of a mindfulness to those people who, just let's not just take for granted that everyone's okay. And that
Yeah,
it's always nice to really reach out to people and just as a check-in.
yeah, that's a great idea. I think we could, I'll take a crack at something for that.
I do that often on Facebook with friends and family,
Yeah,
especially during the holidays.
yeah. All right. The other thing, and we might want to highlight is that Mass Rehab has a new name. They are now Mass Ability. It's official. So I'll go in and edit the text, but they might maybe not during the holidays, but maybe in January we'll do, did you know, Mass Rehab Commission is now Mass Ability, and I'm sure they've got some promotional verbiage about that. So maybe we could do that for January, but I am open to suggestions for ideas for things to keep kind of refreshing there. All right, thanks to Amber, we are now listed on MOD's site as the Grafton Disability Commission. So we're there
5 years post fact though.
now.
It
It
became,
just took a little while.
it became comical that I know that that they have a lot of moving parts at MOD and on a handful of occasions I would give them the nudge and it's like, okay, but I'm glad to see that.
Well, Amber got on it, so
Yeah, awesome.
so we are there now. So
Good.
yeah. Let's see. ADA grievance procedure. I think we have to hear from Tracy, right?
Right.
And that might be something that we carry till next time. I checked the ADA improvement. I saw no listing of the FY25 awards. Aaron, the town applied for an ADA improvement grant. I think it was to have the door be accessible, right? Roger, remind me what it was. It was,
I don't
wasn't it
even
to bring the counters to a,
which one, so in what department? Was it the
I thought
clerk's
it was the
office?
clerk's
No.
office. Did I?
Yeah, I know the clerk's office is still high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought it
Yes,
was to
it
bring it,
is.
yeah, I thought that was what it was, but that
I-
got submitted.
I would recommend that we just take this off the agenda. If we
Yeah.
had gotten a grant, we would have known about
We
it
would
by
have
now.
known, right?
Yeah.
But on the MOD site, there's no there's the announcement for the FY25
Right.
applications, but
Right.
there's no announcement for anybody for the 25 awards. There's the FY24 awards are listed. I checked just before I put the agenda
Right.
together, so
And now, yeah, what they were trying to do is spend down the money, and
yeah.
so for the
Well,
first
we're in
time,
FY
instead of the fall, they were trying to knock that off by the end of the fiscal year. So
Yeah.
that we would have heard in early July.
Yeah,
So
we're in
this-
FY25. So,
Yeah, so I guess we can agree to remove that.
yeah, I'll take it off. All right. Any other old business that I'm not thinking of? Okay. All right. So Aaron, welcome. You are the first item on the new business. So tell us about yourself and we can all introduce ourselves.
Sure.
Two.
So yeah, Aaron Phil, lived in Grafton for a little over 2 years now. Moved here in 2022. From Worcester after living in Worcester, including college for the last I guess 10 years before that, 12 years before that. Originally from Western Canada, came out here for school. Stuck around. Married. I got a 3.5-year-old. I got another one due any day now.
Ah,
Congratulations.
Work in Health and Human Services, Vice President for Adult Services with RFK Community Alliance, doing long-term care and day services, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Spent the last 7 years prior doing with Venture Community Services, doing the same kind of work on a bit of a larger scale, much larger organization. So yeah, so that's kind of me. Nothing special,
Well, we're happy to have you, happy to have your expertise on the
Yeah.
commission.
yes.
Does everybody want to introduce themselves? I'm gonna nominate people. Okay, Roger, why don't you start?
Roger Trahan. I've been on the commission for 5 years when we resurrected it after a 5+ year hiatus. And it's been a great ride. I think we've done a lot as a commission. It's been I think I'll pat ourselves on the back. I think it's been generally one of the more harmonious, sort of kumbaya, awesome committees to be on. And so, yeah, I've been enjoying the ride, and I think we've really done a lot. And over time, more people really have come to be familiar with our work and reach out to us when issues arise. Lived in Grafton since 2000. My wife grew up here, so I'm a transplant, and I grew up in Worcester, Aaron. So that's my stomping ground. Anyway,
I
welcome.
believe you can only say you're from Grafton if you're born here.
And if you have land on Millbury Street, is a joke.
Oh, really?
It's if you have a cemetery plot.
If you have a
so-
plot on Millbury Street.
If you have land on Millbury Street, you're a Graftonite.
Okay, Paul, you wanna?
Yeah, I'm Paul Letourneau. I live at Forest Lane Apartments for the aged. Anyway, I've been a member about a year, I think. I'm not sure. My history is of a hairdresser. I was retired in 1965. For about 50 years, I did community theater, both as an actor, singer, and director. And I was raised in Grafton, but I was born in Worcester.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Christy, you wanna?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Erin. My name's Christy Proctor. I identify as someone with ADHD and neurodivergent. And I look forward to these meetings every month so that I can be the clerk. I have a job where I make decisions all day, so it's nice to just sit back and let you guys all chat. But
Nice.
I do work at Quinsigamond Community College, and I serve there as the Director of Student Accessibility Services.
And Erin, welcome. I'm Alexis Henry. I have lived in Grafton since 1988. So again, not from Grafton, although my son is. I'm an occupational therapist by training. Taught for several years at BU and at Worcester State. The last several years, I'm semi-retired now, pretty much retired, still work a little bit, but have been at UMass Medical School doing a lot of healthcare and disability related policy research. So I have a lot of familiarity with the state disability serving agencies, and I'm the sister, wife, parent of people with disabilities. So, and I've been on the commission for 2 years and the chair for, I I got drafted. I got drafted to be the chair when our excellent former chair had to step down. And I've been the chair for a little less than a year. I can't, it's all a blur now. But
Yeah,
well, we're really happy to have you.
appreciate it.
I think Rogers, it's a good committee, and I think we've done some really good work and gotten some kudos from the town's select board and so. So Tracy may not even make it by the time we're done tonight. She, I know, has a class and her availability is limited over the next 6 weeks. I don't know whether we want to discuss a possible time change. It doesn't seem to really make sense if she's not here.
And it's
You know-
just one more meeting, right? In other words, if we can get
Oh,
by
that's true. Yeah, it's not the next 6 months, it's the next 6 weeks. That's
6
true.
weeks or 6
Yeah.
meetings, right? And so, if everyone is okay, I'm just going to propose that by consensus, we not try to figure something out, especially in her absence.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, that's
No,
good.
that's true.
Yeah. It's hard enough, I think, to find times. And I will just confirm with Amber that us being on this off schedule for this week doesn't change everything going forward. That we'll just go back to our regularly scheduled second Tuesday. But I'll just make sure that this hasn't messed up our schedule in any way. Any other new business items from anybody?
I'd like to bring something up, and it is twofold. The first is, I think someone may have brought this up on one of the Grafton Facebook sites about the Millbury Street sidewalks, that maybe by the letter of the law, the idea that as long as you have 36 inches wide, or if you reach any length more than 200 feet, you have a 5-foot turn radius, so people can pass each other. And I haven't seen it, so I'm only speaking from what people have reported, that there's a hodgepodge of mailboxes and telephone poles and all sorts of things that, while certainly maybe meeting the letter of the law, when someone walks or is traversing a sidewalk, and I'll use someone with white cane, for example, I would think that they would be expecting a sort of uninterrupted space in front of them versus trying to navigate what is being reported as a potential obstacle course. So I think it's something we could look into, whether these possible these structures, whether you call them a mailbox or whatever, that may be in the way, whether that's just on a preliminary basis and there may be a relocation plan for those. But I think it would be a shame to have a tight space, especially where when winter comes, things become even tighter with snowfall.
Where are the sidewalks being, these are
On-
sidewalks that are getting installed?
Yeah, on the Millbury Street school side, like Fitzpatrick Road, when
Uh-huh.
you're heading toward St. Philip Cemetery, so that the school is on your right and you're walking past it on your right.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just something to be mindful of, that if there is ample space, the planning would be ideal to take that into consideration more. And so it's just something to keep watch on,
Mhm.
because people have brought it up. And
Mhm.
so and I pay attention to this stuff online on the Facebook sites and such. So that's one item. The other item is, I think that this issue came up at a recent select board. No, I'm sorry, ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals. I think it was a public hearing. regarding the Snow Road project. Just
Mhm.
using that as an example, the same sidewalk issue and making sure that there was ample parking. Parking became an issue. So is there ample accessible parking, or is it being squeezed too tightly? Is there going to be that proper width with the proper turnaround, if any length goes at least 200 feet, those sort of things. Making sure that the 1 and 2 units, the adaptable and accessible units are, and I'm not picking on that project. I'm using that as an example of a project where it made
Mhm.
me think a little bit more, because we did have this discussion regarding Prentice Place behind Bradish Hot Dogs,
Mhm.
regarding what are the accessible or adaptable features of those spaces and such. And I think what we will begin to see is, as these projects become more prominent and larger in scale, the footprint becomes very tight. And I think things can become problematic when you're trying to squeeze things into a space that could be smaller than is really required, or as a best practice. I think that sometimes by the letter of the law, um, things are compliant, but in the spirit of the law, there could be a little bit more wiggle room, physical space, wiggle room,
Yeah.
in some of these indoor and outdoor spaces. So I think we may enter into the discussion more. And I think as a commission, we're not going to do the work of the planning board or the town planner or anything like that. But I think, as keeping keeping our commission in the loop, us individually and as a commission in the loop about matters related to housing developments.
So I'm wondering if we could put this on the agenda. I think it would make sense to have it at a time when Tracy's
Absolutely. And
available
maybe,
because
yep. And maybe Tracy could, we'll just
she's
rely on
our
her.
most direct liaison
Yep, yep.
to the town, because I think this, what you're raising, Roger, are, might be issues for, multiple development projects that are going on in town. And,
Right.
you know, to the extent, I mean, whether they, you raise the issue, do they meet the letter of the law? I'm assuming they will, because they wouldn't be approved if they didn't. But how do we, I feel like sometimes we talk about these sort of way after the fact, like way,
Right.
it's all done, it's all done, and we're talking about
Right,
it
yeah.
versus, we know there's the development project that's supposed to be across from the fire station, in the town center. There's the Snow Road one. I think there's one on Worcester Street, right? Right down where the old high school used to be. I mean, there's a bunch of, and others that I'm not even aware
Right.
of. These are just the ones that are closest to the center, so I have more awareness of them. You know, is how could we as a commission be more proactive? Is it we have a liaison who always goes to the planning board, or I feel like in the past we've discussed these things, but it's like way too late.
Right.
Like the
And
buildings
I
are
don't think
done.
we need, and you're right. And I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel or step on toes where we don't belong. I think that
Right.
having Tracy on the commission is a good way, just like when Mr. Berger was,
Right. When Bob
as
was
her
here,
predecessor, when Bob was here, that we would be able to ask these questions. And I know that these projects get a look-see by someone at the state level, but I think it's a presidential appointee. I forgot her name. And so hopefully there won't be any disruption with the
oh, I don't know.
changing of the guard. So,
Yes.
and so that's all I'm bringing up is that these are discussions that we really didn't have to have in the past, but the type of housing is changing. There's more rentals and more projects that are coming about that take all these issues into effect.
Right.
Plus, the population
So
is
I think
growing.
I would definitely want to have this on the agenda for a time when Tracy is, so maybe not
Absolutely.
even
Yep.
you
Yeah.
know, we'll see if she's gonna make it. I can, you know, have a sort of side conversation with her, because if she's not gonna be at the 10th, you know, maybe we want to postpone it till January, but,
Right. And along
know,
those
these-
lines, Alexis, I would say that even at a high level, just having that agenda item, just open-ended discussion about, you know, at what points in projects are these things looked at, and just
Mhm.
making sure that they don't
Mhm.
reach a point too late in a project where things can't be structurally undone.
Right,
That's all.
right. Yeah, good thing to have on a future agenda.
Yep, absolutely. So that's all. Those are two things that came to mind. And so, so as far as the Millbury Street sidewalks, I guess I don't know who. I mean, DPW. Who's working on that, and what's the final schematic going to look like?
I don't know, I mean, I haven't been down Millbury Street for a while. Are they already underway?
Yeah,
You know, I
Yes,
haven't.
They are.
Yeah,
they're
they
in,
are.
I'm on Millbury Street every day.
All
and
right.
Sidewalks are in.
Is that affected by the highway department?
Yeah, I'm sure the highway department is some way involved, because it's not a state road.
Right.
I mean, one of us, it could be me, it could be you, Alexis, maybe reach out to William and ask about whether that sidewalk space will involve any sort of, for lack of a better term, clutter.
So I guess I'm not clear what the concern is. So I don't,
Yeah, and maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself, but I think that although things may meet the letter of the law, it's gotten public comment that, you know, you know, you know, you know what it is when you see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, for example, the Verizon, those big metal things that look like an air conditioning unit that are on the posts all over town. Remember a number of years ago, the select board voted on that with the caveat that those would be at least 7 feet off the ground, where possible. And a lot of them are eye level in spaces that would seemingly be able to be placed higher. And that's
Yeah.
an example of, and they're right on the sidewalk. And so they provide an obstruction, you know, or create an obstruction. And so, you know, it's things like that, and we sometimes see it where, like telephone poles, like smack dab in the middle of a sidewalk. And,
Yeah.
and it would seemingly be something that could be addressed. But then again, I mean, some of
is
these
the
are,
concern that like that kind of structure would make the sidewalk not fully accessible, would create
I-
barrier, and do we have any evidence that that's I guess I don't want to reach out to the, I
right,
don't
right.
even know who is responsible for
I
putting in
would
the
just want to
sidewalks.
see,
To
I
reach
just
out
would
to the
want to,
highway department without having, like,
I know.
what am I
I-
asking about?
But I don't, I guess, at what stage in the game they are at, and what the final product will look like. In other words, if they're in, if and only if there are actual structures. I'm speaking anecdotally. I have personally not seen these barriers. And when I say barriers,
Are
I'm talking
people
mailboxes.
anticipating that this could be a problem? I don't,
I,
that,
I think people have expressed a concern without realizing that there's a sort of the 3 foot rule. As long as the 3 foot rule is in place and every 200 feet, there's a 5 foot turnaround, that two, you know, wheelchairs or walkers or what have you could navigate in opposite directions, then that would seemingly meet the letter of the law. However, I think as winter comes and snow piles encroach on sidewalk space, even if those sidewalks are maintained as being clear, could make for pretty tight space that is less than that 3 feet. And I also think of White Cane. You know, I see folks walking around town that I could only imagine it would be more difficult for them to navigate mailboxes in the middle of sidewalks versus a contiguous width of a sidewalk being free from any obstruction. That's all.
A lot.
So it may be accessible and not even an issue for someone on foot, someone in a wheelchair, someone in a walker, someone with a stroller, not, and so not only someone with an impairment, but someone with a stroller, but I think White Cane comes to mind more than anything as being prominent regarding this issue.
So again, I would say that this maybe is something like, I'm just knowing nothing about this. So if the town is installing new sidewalks,
Right,
I would assume that they are required to meet certain regulations related to accessibility.
correct.
You know, how, and it sounds like people are anticipating a potential problem, but that we don't have. I haven't driven down Millbury Street in, a couple of months. I haven't even seen
Right.
the construction of the sidewalk. So right now, we don't have any evidence that there is a problem, but there
No,
could
you're
be.
right, you're right. And so, you're absolutely right. And but my point is that oftentimes the letter of the law is really just the minimum versus a best practice. That's all.
Right, right. But again, my question is, how do we communicate? I don't even know who we communicate this with, Roger, or how we
I
find
think
out about it.
I think I could, I mean, I could, just look into even with, you know, either William Joyce or, Jeffrey Dugan at, MOD or AAB, or even Tracy, just touching base with Tracy about, let's, just internally keep it, maybe I'll just reach out to Tracy and say,
Yeah.
could you,
This is
yeah,
what happens when you miss the meeting. We're gonna put
right,
a lot of things on
and,
your agenda, Tracy.
Yeah.
right, so,
As our liaison and as the building inspector and as the person who probably is the most knowledgeable on the
right,
committee about this kind of stuff,
yeah,
and what process the town goes through in, you know, designing,
Right.
contracting for the sidewalks, who, how do they ensure that regulations are adhered to? I don't have the answers, but I
Right.
think those are the questions we would be asking. And then what happens if there is a problem? How does somebody in the town raise it?
Right. So Tracy, yeah. So rather than go, searching far and wide, I keep on forgetting. It's like this is what happens when someone's not at the meeting. It's like, Tracy, we miss you.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, that would be a Tracy question. It's just something
Yeah.
to keep on top of. It's just because after a certain point, if things are rushed in and finished, not rushed in, but finished on time and maybe in time for the winter, how are you going to undo things that are planted into the ground for a length of sidewalk? It's just not going to be feasible. And that's where sometimes everyone's just working.
Well, if someone, although if it really does create a problem and someone files a complaint and sues the town, actually they would have to redo them.
But I mean,
Yes.
I can't imagine that a mailbox that the postal service would, be amenable to mailboxes not being within reach of the mail delivery person. The way it was described, it seemed like it was being described as being far from curbside.
What is this something? Yeah, I guess, Roger, I don't, was this on like All Things Grafton or something?
It was on one or more,
I just,
and so I
yeah.
may be making something out of nothing, but it's just one of those things where, um, it may be only a preliminary stage type of thing where things will eventually be relocated. So, it is a Tracy question, but it's just one of those new business items that
Right.
I wanted to bring up, because if it's not done right, or if it's problematic after the fact, there's not much that can be done sometimes,
Right.
to sort of undo the inconvenience.
Right.
That's all. So,
Um, Yeah, I mean, I think we as a commission, if somebody is raising an issue related to accessibility, we should be able to advise them on avenues they can pursue
right,
to bring their concern to the town and to the appropriate authority to address it. You
Right.
know, we're not gonna, we're not gonna go out there with shovels and rip up a
No.
sidewalk.
No, but I think it
Yeah.
can't hurt to have these discussions at the
Right, but
commission
I think
level.
it's, yeah, but I think we can discuss it among ourselves, but I like, okay, what would be the appropriate avenue for people to
Right.
pursue if, and I guess I would also, and maybe it's just because of, having been through the election and seeing all the stuff that people comment on Facebook in various domains, just, sort of taking some things with a grain of salt, like,
Right.
well, this could be this, or that could be that. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? It just feels like
Right.
there's,
I think I know that the emotion of a lot of things has been ramped up.
yeah,
But I can, and I'm only referring though from my own personal experience of people having really been impacted, for instance, by the children's room at the library not being available because of the flood remediation, and how a lot of individuals were really deeply impacted by that. And in the same way, something that came to the people will, vent online, and
right.
sometimes the energy and the tone of the conversation can be ramped up. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't an issue there. And I think that the fact that I just feel as a volunteer committee member that it can't hurt for me to bring these things up at the committee level if I see that someone has commented on something that could be an accessibility issue. That's all.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I'm just trying to find, like, then what do we do with it? Because I think us discussing it among ourselves is
No,
not that.
no, no,
Is
we
it
bring
like,
it,
where are the
we,
right avenues for
I,
us to
I think we bring it to
accept it?
Tracy's attention, and it
Yeah.
would be Tracy's role to make sure that things are being, that this is going to be done correctly. That's all.
Yeah.
And so we don't even need to necessarily bring it back up. It's just one of those things that even Tracy in her role, this is just one project. And unless someone brings it to someone's attention, I think that,
Yeah.
I guess I know we're not in the job of hand holding everyone, but I think a lot of people, they'll bring something up on a Facebook post, but then they won't take it to the next step. And
Exactly.
so I'm kind of doing that for them. I'm being a little bit codependent. So uh, so I've done my job tonight to mention this under new business. That's all, and
Okay.
bring it to Tracy's attention to just so I can, if without objection, if no one minds me just shooting Tracy a quick email.
No, I think that's great.
All
Okay.
right,
That's great. And
All
we'll, I think we've had a couple of things that we'd like to get Tracy's input into, and I'll happy to, or if you want to do it, Roger, you're going to do it. Like, is she going to be at the next meeting, or should we wait till January?
I mean, they can wait till January. I think that I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there's so many things going on so many fronts that any one item or project isn't going to be the make or break of things in
Mhm.
accessibility. So yeah, so January is fine, but I'll shoot her an email that to expect to see this on the next agenda, and just maybe provide an update, and we could just consider these two items old business, and maybe just
Okay.
yeah.
All right. That's great. Sounds great. Any other new business items? Okay, so just to remind everybody, our next meeting is Tuesday, December 10th at 6:30. I will confirm with Amber, as I said, that we haven't messed up our regular schedule with this off week. And with that, I will entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Aaron, thank you. All right, all those in favor of adjourning, Roger Trahan,
Aye.
Paul Letourneau,
Aye.
Aaron Phil,
Aye.
Christy Proctor,
Aye.
Alexis Henry, I. And with that, we are adjourned